what my only crime was being happy. That's all I did. I hate you.
Holy shit, Danny.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the JIMPACT Zone, where I, James Gisanti, take you through everything Impact Wrestling. Tonight was Impact's annual event, Sacrifice. And Sacrifice, ooh boy, did Impact sacrifice, unfortunately. As they've been on an incredible run, we were hit with some bad news tonight. Now, before I get into that news, I would just like to say Sacrifice was a fun event. It had some great matchups. It had some exciting bouts, some nice stuff. But there was a looming cloud above it, which was the news that both, not one, not two, well, actually two, Impact World Champions are injured. That's correct. Josh Alexander, the Impact World Champion, and Mickie James, the Impact Knockouts World Champion, are both dealing with injuries. Now, I will say one seems to be worse than the other. In fact, there is a slight possibility one may be a work, but I doubt that given the circumstances of what's coming. But at the very least, we can confirm Josh Alexander has a torn tricep and is injured and will unfortunately no longer be Impact World Champion. Now, obviously, we don't know how this reign was supposed to end. Josh Alexander is the longest reigning Impact World Champion. He had two title defenses coming up against Kushida next week at Multiverse United, and then against Steve Maclin, if he had made it to Steve Maclin at Rebellion. It's a sad thing to see anybody get injured. It's even more unfortunate from a professional standpoint when one of those people is a champion, let alone the world champion. So slightly disappointing. Jay, I want to believe you. I'm not going to argue with you. Maybe he did. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't know if you watched tonight, but if you did, I hope you enjoyed everything. Breaker definitely is going to last a little bit longer as champion than Josh Alexander, unfortunately. But welcome to have you with us. Same thing here, you know it. Hi, how you doing, bud? Thank you for joining me tonight. Unfortunately, with all of this bad news, but it's always a little bit warmer when you're surrounded by your fellow marks. But yes, Josh Alexander, torn tricep, relinquishing the Impact World Championship. And then Mickie James, who we'll get into in a little bit, but she is also dealing with an injury. Like I said, we'll talk about that as this show progresses. But yeah, disappointing times for Impact. Disappointed for Josh Alexander. Truth be told, disappointed for Kushida. Disappointed for Steve Maclin in particular. See, we could all be friends here. But yes, moving on to into happier news. This show, like I said, had a lot of excellent wrestling in it, a lot of fun moments, very memorable, and they started off strong as Jonathan Gresham took on Speedball Mike Bailey. Speedball, I've been honest with you guys. Jay, you're not going to want to hear this. I don't think there's many people in the world right now that are better than Speedball. Speedball is absolutely killing it for Impact, and I was very much looking forward to his match next week against Will Ospreay. That will now be against Hiroshi Tanahashi instead. Not a downgrade by any stretch of the imagination. That's going to be an excellent match, and this was a fun and this was not a warm-up because Jonathan Gresham isn't a warm-up for anybody, but this was a nice showcase for Speedball in this match. Gresham and Speedball, this is their second one-on-one match here in Impact in a short time. The first match went to Jonathan Gresham. It was an excellent match, and I'd say this one was just as good, if not a little bit better. There were a lot of fun spots here with both men twisting, stretching, pulling on one another. There were so many submission holds. There was a lot of high flying, particularly on Speedball's part. I cannot stop complimenting what a total package Speedball is. The guy is an excellent striker. He's an excellent high flyer. He's a great mat technician. He just has all of it. By the way, if you guys are here, tell me how my audio sounds. If it's not up to par, I'm getting a couple of notifications. Let me know, and I'll try working on it. You know what? I understand Impact could do a little bit better about getting promotion out there. That you didn't know that there was a pay-per-view tonight, so you didn't get to see it. Impact, when they do have these premium live events, this is definitely a second-tier event for them. This was something that went on their Impact Plus or on YouTube. It wasn't. I don't believe it was on Fightful or anywhere else, but Rebellion definitely feels like it's going to be a bigger deal for them next month. But yeah, it's still a shame that there wasn't more exposure to this. If you can watch it, I'd highly recommend it because, like I said, this match alone worth the price of admission for this show. Both men locking up, rolling around the ring, literally from one side of the ring to the other in a leg lock, in a mutual leg lock that got them outside of the ring. It's so fun when you see these technical guys going back at it one-on-one. It makes me want to stretch a little bit more. But great showing between these two. Gresham, who both of these guys are friends. They've been teaming up, but there's definitely been a sense of one-upsmanship between the two. Gresham locking in a few moves that he wouldn't quite let go of with the rope break, that the ref had to pull them away, hitting a couple of stiff shots that he apologized for, but eventually this just pushed Speedball to getting a little more aggressive, and both men taking the gloves off and fighting when they can. I love that aspect of it. I love these guys. I love these guys trying to prove who the better man is without resorting to anything dirty, at least not yet. In the end, we saw a finish that I could tell you, I've been a wrestling fan for around 20 years. Not as much as you know it. Not as long as you know it. I understand that. But I've been a wrestling fan for 20 years, and I just saw a finish that I don't think I've ever seen. Jonathan Gresham has Speedball locked in a figure four, and then Speedball reverses it. We've all seen the reversal of the figure four leg lock. It's a classic spot to get out of that finish, to get out of that submission hold. What I've never seen was somebody tapping out to that reversal, and that is exactly what Jonathan Gresham did. Speedball reverses the move, and then Gresham taps out very quickly. I am under the impression that figure fours are the type of move that, even when reversed, the person doing the move is still in charge. All he had to do was let go of the hold. So I'm a little confused as to why this happened. That's okay. At the end of the day, this was a fun, exciting, different finish that I'm used to, and both men highlighted how good they are. Moving on, we had a backstage interview where the challenger of the Digital Media Championship, Brian Myers, was interviewed about his win, giving Joe Hendry his second pinfall loss in Impact since returning last night on Impact. Brian, not surprised, highlighting just how badass he is, all that fun stuff. When out comes Moose, where he says, "You did it last night, I helped, we're a team." And he'll be there in his corner to help him make sure he wins tonight as well. Santino Marella hears this and says, I have grounds to get rid of you right now. In fact, I'm going to. You're banned from ringside. I love Santino. I love Santino as an authority figure. He's doing great. And I love just seeing a heel get caught. I'm a big fan of that. Love seeing it when I can. And I got to see it impact what came next, which was the Digital Media Championship match, where Joe Hendry defended against Brian Myers. This was a very fun match. Hendry got on the mic before the match started, cut a fun promo about being at the college and being sent from the royal family. It was a fun bit, and the match itself had a lot of nice spots. I'm realizing now just how much of Edge's repertoire is now in Brian Myers' moveset. I don't think I ever recognized that prior, but it was definitely a nice touch. It's nice to see him paying homage to his former Edge leader. But the match ended with Hendry hitting a lot of stuff I've never seen him do. He hits a cutter out of midair as Brian Myers is jumping at him from the top rope, and then he sends him running for a huge standing ovation finish. 1, 2, 3, and Joe Hendry is still our digital media championship. Great job from both men. They put on an exciting match. Very excited to see where Hendry's digital media championship reign will go from here. Moving on, we had our Mickie James medical update, as Mickie James was sitting with Santino Marella and Gia Miller. And they revealed that Mickie James has a broken rib. She couldn't defend the championship tonight, and she wanted to defend it, but wasn't medically cleared to. And she won't be medically cleared for Multiverse United next week. That is why I'm starting to think this might not be a work. That is a very rare pay-per-view we're getting with this New Japan Impact synergy. It feels weird to Knockouts champion away from that event. But at the very least, if they are selling a storyline, they're very committed to it. Santino explained that Jordynne Grace, who was supposed to have a title shot tonight, is still in line to get a championship title match. But now the women that are competing at Multiverse United, which is Giselle Shaw, Deonna Purrazzo, Masha Slamovich, and I believe a Stardom talent who I'm not too familiar with. The winner of that match Bully Ray is at fault for a lot of things right now. I'm not too thrilled with him, you know it. You guys need a review great television, which is NXT. We used to have an NXT guy. If you really want us to do NXT, commit to coming every Tuesday, and I might be able to convince one of the guys to do it. But sticking with this, whoever wins that Fatal 4-Way Knockouts match at Multiverse United will either face Jordynne Grace in a one-on-one match if Mickie James is not medically cleared to compete by the time we get to Rebellion, or if Mickie James is medically cleared to compete, she will be added to a triple threat between Mickie, Jordynne Grace, and the winner of that match. Very exciting. Unfortunate that we couldn't get the Mickie James-Jordynne Grace match tonight. A broken rib. Look, I never want to see anybody work injured. I'm glad they did it this way. You don't really see a lot of people not competing because of a broken rib. So I'm a little intrigued to see if this is a work or not. My gut is saying it's not, that it's legit. Time will tell, but definitely adding more stakes to next week's Multiverse United event with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Moving on to more knockouts action, we had Deonna Purrazzo taking on Giselle Shaw, being accompanied by the Cannibal Savannah Evans and Jay Vidal. This was, I think, one of the best matches of the night, if not the best singles match of the night, bar none. Deonna Purrazzo is a star. We've gone over it time and again here in the JIMPACT Zone. I'm a big fan of hers. I think she's strapped to a rocket, and she never puts on a bad performance. But that said, the props and the roses also need to be shared with Giselle Shaw. She has developed wonderfully in the short amount of time she has been a part of Impact, delivering basically with every match she does and only getting better. Now, with this match with Deonna Purrazzo, they both put on a clinic. Deonna looked like a star here. Deonna looked like somebody who's probably in line for a big push, which isn't surprising. I feel like she's always near the championship. She's usually championship adjacent. But the match ends with Deonna Purrazzo locking in the Venus de Milo, a brutal-looking submission, and Giselle Shaw tapping out. After the match, Savannah Evans gets involved and attacks Deonna Purrazzo. Unfortunate timing, because out comes the returning Tasha Steelz. We talked about Tasha Steelz, I believe, last night last week as we were talking about women coming back to the Impact Zone. Tasha Steelz comes out, confronts her former tag team partner Savannah Evans, and says she wants to help her take out Deonna Purrazzo. As Evans goes to pick up Purrazzo, Tasha nails her in the back of the head. They go at it for a little bit until Jay Vidal gets involved, and then Tasha Steelz is able to clear both of them out of the ring and helps Purrazzo. Very excited to see Tasha Steelz back. She's a great knockout, a great performer. It's good to see that division getting bolstered as much as it is, and very interested to see where all of these performers move forward from here. Maybe we're going to get Purrazzo and Tasha versus Giselle and Savannah. Time will tell, but it should be good no matter what. Are you excited for Tessa to return to Impact? Not only is she not going to return to Impact, I would not be excited for it. I am, as I said last night, a big believer in people getting redemption and bettering themselves, but Tessa would need to prove that she is in a place to better herself and looking for redemption. Moving on, we had our Kenny King versus PCO match. This was a match. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. One of the upsides is how over PCO is. PCO is a loved star. He's been building momentum ever since his return to the Indies as Perfect Creation 1, and then building off that to a Ring of Honor World Championship, and now his work here in Impact. Being as popular as he is, he's able to get by with matches that aren't as amazing. But we saw a lot of the traditional stuff, and I will say that man needs to stop with these nasty bumps. When Kenny King pulled him from the top rope and he went flying into the corner of the ring, onto the edge of the ring, my back broke for him. The finish of the match, I don't like Tessa. She is pure drama. Imagine her and Punk were dating. The best part is I don't think Punk would ever get near anyone like Tessa Blanchard. He has his issues, but he also has a moral code that I don't think Tessa Blanchard does. The finish of the match saw PCO dealing with a chair-wielding Kenny King. After the referee is distracted by Eddie Edwards, Kenny swings the chair and hits PCO in the back. PCO no-sells it, turns around, punches the chair into Kenny King's face, and gets the 1-2-3. This was, like I said, a standard PCO match, but a standard PCO match is still a fun PCO match. One of the big things to note in this match was that he started to glitch again, something we haven't seen since his time in Honor No More, where he got a little confused and hits an outside dive to a side of the ring that has nobody and nothing there and took a nasty bump. Don't know where this is going. Don't know if there's any plans for this. Maybe this is a sign that Vincent might be returning. I don't know. Either way, exciting to see where we move forward with PCO. Moving on, we had a hype package for a debuting knockout, Jody Threat. I have no idea who Jody Threat is, guys. If you are, please leave a comment. Inform me. Tell me where I could look her up. But as I said, always fun to see the Knockouts division getting bolstered. I hope she adds something new and something fun to that division. We then have a backstage segment where Frankie Kazarian and Rich Swann are talking, and they are met by Steve Maclin, who isn't happy about why he's here, even though he's happy he's on the team. He's very disappointed that after a year of studying Josh Alexander, he is not going to have the opportunity to take Josh Alexander on for the title. I get your pain, man. I get your pain. By the way, just to clarify, I don't think I said it before when we were dealing with the Josh Alexander stuff. The Impact World Championship will be decided at Rebellion by the current number 1 and number 2 contenders, Kushida, who was supposed to meet Alexander at Multiverse United next week, and Macklin, who is supposed to meet Alexander at Rebellion. So that championship will be decided at Rebellion in a different one-on-one matchup. Jay, I would love if you could tell me a single match Jody Threat was in. Begging you. Please. Please. Please do. Moving on, we had our X Division championship match. And if I'm not mistaken, no, I was going to say our first championship match of the night, but it was our second. Trey Miguel taking on Santino Marella's hand-picked opponent, Lince Dorado. If you're familiar with WWE, NXT, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, you'll know who Lince Dorado is. He's a luchador. He was part of Lucha House Party alongside Grand Metalik, now just Metalik, and, oh God, who's the other one? He was part of Lucha House Party. My bad, guys. Who is she anyway? I have no idea, bud. I have no idea. But I'm hoping I'll learn very soon. But Lince Dorado, I've had the pleasure of seeing Lince compete on the indies since his WWE departure. Oh. Thanks, you know it. I'll definitely look that one up now. Appreciate that one. I'm actually pretty excited to see that match. I've had the pleasure of seeing Lince Dorado in person since his WWE departure. This lit lucha, he's now using a new gimmick, which is a lit lucha guy. It's a little bit different. It's very different than his Lucha House Party stuff. And I know that Lince has said in interviews that he doesn't want to be wearing a mask much longer, but this is a fun gimmick that I don't necessarily think translated well in his first appearance here in Impact. I'm willing to give it another shot. I hope he sticks around Impact a little bit longer. But this was a fun match. It didn't have a lot of heat to it. The crowd wasn't really behind it. There was some fun spots, as always, when you have high-flying X Division guys, but none of it really felt like it was connecting too much. I've been open. I really like Trey Miguel's new heel persona. I think it's doing wonders for him, but I do think he needs an extra dimension added to him. You know, it's not fair, but I'm going to compare him to Ricochet. It doesn't matter how good you are at flipping and jumping and doing acrobatic stuff. If you can't connect with the audience, you're going to get forgotten. I don't think Trey Miguel is in that position right now. I think he has a lot of upside and a lot of potential, but it's a slippery slope, and I hope he's able to navigate it. But Trey Miguel winning, retaining his X Division championship after a Hurricanrana roll-up, getting the 1-2-3 in a fast-paced match. Moving on, we had a TMDK backstage promo setting up their match against Bullet Club for the tag titles very shortly, and we'll just get into that now. This was a fun match, guys. I am a big, big fan of Bullet Club's Ace Austin and Chris Bay, the ABC. I'm learning more and more about TMDK. I've known a lot of their performers through their time in NXT, through their time in New Japan with Zack Sabre Jr. Yeah, I'm very excited to see this team growing, and I'm very excited. I was excited to see them go against Bullet Club, who I think have been such a fresh addition to this group, and it's a shame they can't interact more often with their Japanese counterparts, but given the circumstances, it is understandable. But I think they're repping... Oh. Hello. Hello, you guys there with me? Sorry if I lost you there for a moment. It's, you know how Wi-Fi goes. But overall, yes, going back to this tag team title match, I was very excited for these two young teams to go at it. Well, not necessarily young. Shane Haste, who you might remember from TM64. WB, I know my internet's bad, but I don't know what that means, but I'm sorry about that. But yeah, you might remember Shane Haste from NXT, from TM64, where he was Shane Thorne. But this was a fun match. This was a fun match. Bullet Club, these two young guys, Ace Austin and Chris Bay, they haven't been teaming that long. I think they've only been teaming for like 8 months, and they have done so much to get as familiar with each other as possible, and they have found an insane amount of chemistry in such a short time. This was a fun back and forth match where the champions, you could argue, were the underdogs, as they were significantly outsized by their opponents. But it didn't matter. They had a great match. They had a great run with it, and they were able to defend the titles against the much larger challengers as they are prepared to face them again next week at Multiverse United in a fatal 4-way tag team match. I am loving, like I said, the chemistry between Austin and Bay. I love their moveset. I love how they're getting over. And Ace Austin's new look definitely is starting to push him to take people a little more seriously. I loved how unique he looked before, but now he's starting to look a little bit more like a threat, and give it time, that man will be world champion. Doesn't matter where he goes. He will be world champion if any company is smart enough to put it on him. Moving forward to a match that was probably going to always be the most divisive of the bunch, and that is the busted open match between Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer. This was a busted open match. This was a first blood match. Tommy and Bully Ray are both older men, not necessarily in the best shape of their careers, and they put on a hardcore match. A slow hardcore match. It wasn't bad. There were some fun spots. There were some gory spots, but it's a little bit harder to see these guys doing this in 2023. But considering the circumstances, I did have more or less fun with it. Like I said, there were some dark spots here. Tommy getting Bully to bleed relatively early with the help of a cheese grater, but unfortunately the referee was knocked down. This allowed Bully's henchman, the Good Hands, to come out, towel Bully off, and keep Dreamer down. Dreamer introduced some thumbtacks into the match, and Bully slowly forces his face to push against the thumbtacks. It was dark, it was gory, it was dirty, and I'm sure if you were a fan of classic ECW, you would be a fan of this spot here too. The match ends with Bully getting the win, with the referee seeing Tommy Dreamer bleeding from the thumbtacks and him being covered by the towel, hiding his own blood. This led the 3 men, Bully and the Good Hands, to continue to beat Tommy Dreamer after the match and then get confronted by an NHL legend. This was a fun segment. This was a fun spot, and I'm sure he was excited to go through a table. But no one was more excited than me as to what came next, and that was the return of Scott Demore. Guys, you've heard me go on and on about how much, yes, I have been loving Santino Marella as the authority figure, but I've been missing Scott Demore. I'm very happy for his promotion as the president of Impact. I almost said TNA. That is my bad. But he has been missed. Whatever happened to Spike Dudley? Spike is retired. Spike is retired. His body, he's an older guy. I think he's around 50 at this point. I think he's happy living the family home life and living as a civilian out of the spotlight. I would love to see Spike get a nice Hall of Fame induction at some point, whether it's an Impact or WWE, for all of his contributions to both WWE and ECW. But out comes Scott Demore, who the last time we saw him was put through a table by Bully Ray after standing up to him in the most badass fashion imaginable. Scott's ready for another fight this time, takes off all of his jewelry, he was Darby before Darby. I don't know about that. That is a good comparison. I won't lie. I never put those two together, but I do see where you're going with it. You know it. Scott Demore throws off his cufflinks, he throws off his glasses, he throws off his watch, and he gets ready to come down to the ring, but he's not alone. He's flanked by Heath, Rhino, Jonathan Gresham, Speedball Mike Bailey, Joe Hendry, and they send Bully and the Good Hands flying. Well, one of the Good Hands. Hotch stayed behind and tried to get a dirty punch in on Scott Demore, who counters and hits him with a Canadian destroyer. Scott Demore the president of Impact Wrestling, hit a Canadian destroyer, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. More of that, please. I don't know how much more we're going to see of Scott Demore on television, given his role as the president of the company, but at the very least, this was a fun return for the character. Very excited to see where Team Impact versus Team Bully will go, but it has been a storyline with a lot of heat to it, right, Bully? That does take us, though, to our main event, which saw a six-man tag match where Steve Maclin, Rich Swann, and Frankie Kazarian took on Time Machine, the Motor City Machine Guns, and Kushida. This was a fun match. Man. Time Machine is just insane. At their age, going at the level they're not old guys, but they're not young kids either. The rate they're going at, the chemistry they have, the moveset they have. These are three guys who are just next level good. Next level good. Impact was really smart to re-sign the Motor City Machine Guns for a new contract, and man, I know I'm happy for them to be in Impact, but I would love to see them in the Trios division in AEW, at the very least for a one-off appearance, taking on another team. But regardless of this, this was a fun match where we saw Steve Maclin playing himself very smart, if a little cowardly, throwing Rich Swann in to be fed to the wolves because he does not want to risk getting injured going before his Rebellion title match against Kushida. In the end, it is Kushida who wins, making Steve Maclin tap out to the hoverboard armbar lock, and it was a very fast tap out, with Frankie Kazarian, quite frankly, very mad that it happened. Very confused why he would tap out so early. Maclin seems to be wanting to keep himself healthy before the title match, which is, while a smart decision, a cowardly one. I love all six men in this match. I love Time Machine in all of their glory. I've really come to love Kazarian over the years. The man is so smart in the ring, so good, so underappreciated, and Maclin has done a lot to build himself up since coming to Impact. Very proud of that guy, and Rich Swann has been at the center of this storyline now, especially now that Josh Alexander is gone, and hopefully this will lead to some very fun development for the Rich Swann character. Very interested to see where he goes now that Alexander is gone, and they were hinting at a heel turn for Swann against Alexander. Don't know if that heel turn's still in the cards, but I'm sure he's still going to be on an exciting journey. Guys, this was a fun pay-per-view, if not a sad one, given the circumstances with Josh Alexander and Mickie James. It definitely sets Multiverse United into a more perilous state. Don't know how they're going to replace that Josh Alexander versus Kushida match. I hope they come up with something really good. But in the meantime, this was Sacrifice. I had a lot of fun. If you watched it, let me know what you thought about it. If you didn't, go check it out if you can. At the very least, I appreciate you joining me here in the JIMPACT Zone. I'm James Gisanti. You guys have a great night, and I'll see you soon.